"You're not a real man, you're just a walking ATM," as he slid behind the wheel of my car. The words cut deep, sharper than I expected, like a punch to the gut. The room erupted in laughter, their mockery filling the air, as if I were nothing more than a joke to them. I stood frozen for a moment, the sting of his insult hanging in the air. I could feel the anger boiling inside, but I forced out a weak laugh, trying to mask the hurt. Nodding stiffly, unable to find the right words, I walked out without another word. My pride was bruised, but something inside me had hardened. The insults would no longer define me. Before we continue with the rest of the story, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your incredible support. My channel is so close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, and your help means everything to me. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe below, your support truly makes a huge difference. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of my channel journey. Now, back to the story. 3 days later. His laughter had turned into frantic yelling over the phone. I never thought I'd be writing this, but last night changed everything. You know those moments when years of silent resentment finally boil over, when a single act of entitlement tips the scale? Yeah, this wasn't just one of those moments. This was the moment I watched my brother-in-law, Logan, slide into the driver's seat of my brand new Tesla, without so much as a glance in my direction, let alone permission. He turned to my sister, Olivia, grinning like he owned the world, and announced loud enough for everyone to hear. "See? I told you Nathan wouldn't mind. He always does. He's not a real man anyway, just a walking ATM," and everyone laughed. My mother, Helen, my sister, my extended family, all of them, laughed like it was the funniest joke they'd heard all year. Some contexts, I've always been the successful one in the family. Not bragging, just stating facts. While Logan jumped from one get-rich-quick scheme to another, I built my career steadily. My sister Sarah, despite her master's degree, chose to support his entrepreneurial spirit instead of pursuing her own path. In the past 5 years, Ryan borrowed my car, returning it with mysterious dents, asked for $47,000 in loans that were never repaid, used my summer retreat for business events that cost $112,000 in damages, maxed out a credit card I co-signed, and convinced Margaret, my mother, to refinance her house for his latest venture. Every time, he'd say, "Come on, Ethan, we're family. It's just money. You're Sarah's favorite, what else are you spending it on?" But last night was different. It was supposed to be a simple family dinner at my mother's house. I drove there in my new Tesla, the first real luxury purchase I had made for myself in years. I hadn't shown it to anyone yet, purposely avoiding the inevitable request to just take it for a spin. I was in the kitchen, helping Margaret, when I heard the unmistakable sound of my car's door opening. By the time I reached the driveway, Logan was already adjusting the seats, with Olivia in the passenger side, both of them grinning like they'd just snatched the keys to Dad's car. "Logan, get out of my car." "Relax, bro. Just taking it for a quick spin to show Olivia. You know, I've been thinking about getting one myself," he said, followed by that ridiculous ATM comment. They all burst into laughter. I stood there, watching my brother-in-law, Logan, lounging in my $95,000 Tesla, a car he hadn't even asked to borrow, making jokes about me being less of a man. In that moment, something inside me snapped. While my own extended family laughed along, a switch flipped. I forced a smile, nodded, and walked back inside. Grabbing my jacket, I called a rideshare. As I was heading out the door, I heard my mom calling after me, "Ethan, where are you going? Don't be so sensitive." I didn't respond. Instead, I spent the next 3 hours making calls, sending emails, and taking back control of what was mine. By midnight, I had reported my car as being used without authorization, contacted my financial institution about every loan and transaction tied to Logan, emailed my lawyer about the damage to my summer retreat, and changed every password and security code I had. I froze the credit card I had foolishly co-signed. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and messages. Logan was stranded at a charging station because I had remotely disabled his access. He wasn't laughing now. Olivia was furious, calling me selfish for ruining their plans, and my mom tried to guilt-trip me about tearing the family apart. The weight of their words didn't even faze me. I was done being the family ATM. My phone buzzes again as I type this. It's Logan's number. I think I'll let it ring. Here's what they still don't understand: I'm not angry. I'm not even hurt anymore. I'm simply done. And sometimes, being done is the most liberating choice you can make. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with my lawyer. Everything is documented, every call, every transaction, every lie, every misstep. They wanted to treat me like an ATM? Well, this ATM is officially out of service. Reddit update 1. First, I can't thank you enough for the outpouring of support on my last post. You were right, I should have done this years ago. Here's what's unfolded in the last 24 hours. The morning after the ATM incident, I sat down with my lawyer. I came prepared, every text, every email, every financial institution statement, and photos documenting the damages to my properties. As she sifted through the evidence, she just kept shaking her head in disbelief. The total came to $262,800 in unauthorized charges. But here's where it gets even more interesting. While I was in that meeting, Logan showed up at my house. My CCTV system caught him attempting to use his spare key, a key I'd already had changed. He stood there for 20 minutes, calling and texting, each message more desperate than the last. Some of the highlights: stop being dramatic, your sister is crying because of you, my mom says you're acting like a child, and just reset the Tesla access. I need to get to a meeting. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I focused on my lawyer, drafting formal demand letters for repayment and filing reports for the damage to my holiday estate. No charges yet, but I was building a solid paper trail. Then, Chloe, my girlfriend, suggested something brilliant: check my credit report. Turns out, there were 3 credit cards I didn't recognize. All maxed out. All opened in the past year, with my name as a cosigner. Guess who had access to my social security number and personal documents? Logan had helped me with my taxes last year. That's when things really escalated. Around 2 p.m., Olivia started calling everyone in the extended family. According to my extended family, she was telling people I had lost my mind and was destroying the family over a joke. She conveniently left out the part about the 3 maxed out credit cards or the $262,800 in damages. My mom showed up at my office crying, saying, I didn't raise you to be cruel to family. I asked her about the $85,000 second mortgage she took out on her house to invest in Logan's latest opportunity. She got quiet real fast. But he promised it would triple in value, she whispered. And you believed him again? I asked. She left without another word. By evening, the extended family group chat was on fire. Apparently, I was now heartless, cruel, jealous of Logan's potential, having a midlife crisis, and needed to man up and help the family. It was all the same twisted narrative, but this time, something in me was different. Then Chloe found something else. Remember those business retreats at my holiday estate? It turns out Logan had been renting it out on a vacation rental site for 2 years, pocketing the money, using my property to run his business, all without my knowledge or consent. That's when his tone shifted. The messages, once dripping with anger, now became frantic and panicked. Look, we can work something out. Please don't dig into the summer retreat thing. I can explain everything. Just call me back. But I didn't. Instead, I froze all joint accounts, canceled every subscription they had access to, changed all my passwords, and reported the fraudulent credit cards. I had my lawyer draft a complete record of all loans and damages, then filed reports about the unauthorized rental of my property. As I clicked send on the last email to the authorities, my phone buzzed with a new notification, Logan's number flashing on the screen. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't answer. The silence on the other side of the line was deafening. It hung there, thick and suffocating, as if time itself had frozen. But that silence was shattered moments later when a new message came through, the words glaring on the screen, "You're making a huge mistake. I'll make sure you regret this." The coldness of his words cut deeper than I expected. A chill ran down my spine, the weight of his threat heavy in the air. The stakes had just been raised, and everything felt sharper, more dangerous. I leaned back, trying to steady my breath, but then came another ping, this time from Olivia. Her words hit me like a slap in the face. How could you do this to us? We're about to close on our dream house. The financial institution needs to verify our income and assets. Please don't ruin this for us. I froze, staring at the screen, the pieces clicking into place. Ah, so that's what this was about. They needed my financials to make their loan application look solid. The Tesla joyride, the ATM comments, those were just their frustrations because I wasn't playing along with their plan. My lawyer confirmed what they were trying to do would constitute mortgage fraud. She's drafting a letter to their loan officer, ensuring accuracy by including proof of their actual debts to me, just to prevent any manipulation of the application. Not long ago, Logan left a voicemail, his voice barely coherent, but I could make out, "You have no idea what you've done. No idea what's going to come out if you keep pushing." Is that a threat or a confession? Guess we'll find out. The truth is, I'm not pushing anything. I'm just letting go of the rope in this endless tug of war. They're the ones who are sinking in the mud of their own making. Then, the CCTV system alerted me that someone was at my holiday estate. The surveillance cameras showed Logan's car. Reddit update 2, well, it turns out Logan's threat about what might come out wasn't just hot air. The last 48 hours have been a revelation. When I last posted, Logan was at my holiday estate. The CCTV system showed him removing boxes from the garage at 11:30 p.m. I called the police for a trespassing report, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. But as I reviewed the footage again, I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Logan wasn't just taking things, he was planting something in my garage. The realization hit me like a freight train. What had he set up? And why? The urgency in my voice as I called the police was palpable. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about keeping my family's safety intact. What he left behind, though, was far more intriguing than what he took. Hidden in the back of a storage cabinet were piles of documents, financial institution statements, loan applications, and business proposals, each one bearing my forged signature. But that wasn't even the worst part. Among the documents, there were also records belonging to 3 other families, all following the same twisted pattern: borrowed money, forged signatures, elaborate investment schemes. It wasn't just me he had been scamming, Logan had been running this game on multiple relatives, across multiple families. He knew exactly how to play them. I handed everything over to my lawyer, who was already in contact with the other families involved. The next morning, Olivia showed up at my office, but not to apologize. No, that would be too easy. She came to inform me that she'd posted a long-winded truth about my brother's story on social media, calling me a vindictive sociopath who was destroying her family out of jealousy. Her post went viral, circulating through our extended family. An extended family I hadn't spoken to in years began calling me. But here's the thing about family secrets: once they're aired out, you lose control over which ones come to the surface. My mom's sister called me. "Is it true about the holiday estate rentals?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. But then came the bombshell. "Well, you should know, he did the same thing with my Uncle Mike's lake house last summer." The words hit like a gut punch, and everything I thought I knew about our family unraveled in that instant. My heart pounded, but I stayed calm. This was the beginning of something bigger. One phone call led to another, and with each one, the truth became clearer: Logan wasn't just playing me. He had been playing the entire family, weaving a web of deceit, exploiting their trust, and manipulating them for years. 3 other relatives had loaned him money. How many more were out there, buried under layers of lies? The weight of the realization was suffocating, but something inside me snapped. It was time to take back control, no more playing along. He'd used my mom's house as collateral for a private loan. He'd been running unauthorized rentals on 2 other family properties. He'd borrowed and sold family heirlooms, promising to replace them with better ones once his investments matured. The web of deceit was spinning wider and faster than I could have imagined. By mid-afternoon, my mom, Helen, called. Her voice was different, soft, trembling, fearful. "The financial institution called," she said. "They say the paperwork for the second mortgage might be incorrect." "You mean forged?" I replied, the silence on the line louder than any words could ever be. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I really thought he said it was just a formality, that he'd pay it off before." Her words trailed off, and for the first time, I saw her cry. The sobs were quiet, almost reluctant, as if she were too proud to fully give in to them. I didn't feel the need to comfort her. The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. Chloe stayed with me through it all, her presence a steadying force. It was she who noticed something strange about the timestamps on Logan's rental listings. They didn't match his supposed business trip dates. A quick check revealed the unsettling truth: he'd been renting out my holiday estate while simultaneously claiming to be using it himself. Double dipping. Pocketing both streams of money. Around 9 a.m., Olivia called, her voice frantic, like a dam had broken inside her. "What did you do?" she screamed. "The financial institution pulled our mortgage approval. They're saying something about a fraud audit. This was our dream house, Ethan, how could you?" I paused, feeling the weight of her words settle over me like an icy storm. "I didn't do anything, Olivia. Your husband's actions did this. He was trying to build something for us, for our future. By stealing from the family." I took a breath, steadying myself. "He said he would fix everything." "Once what?" "Once his imaginary investments paid off? Once he scammed enough people?" The line went dead. She hung up. Then came the intervention. They all showed up at my house: my mom, Olivia, 2 uncles, and an aunt. They wanted to talk this through, to keep it within the family. I let them in, wordlessly. I sat them down, and without a word, I played the CCTV footage of Logan stealing from my garage. I showed them the forged documents, the rental listings, the loan applications, the evidence of other families he'd scammed. One by one, their faces drained of color. The room fell deathly silent. Finally, Helen stood up, shaking. "I need to call my financial institution," she said, her voice hollow. She left without another word, and the others followed her, retreating to the world where this never existed. All that remained was Olivia. She sat there, her eyes glued to the documents in front of her, her face a mask of confusion and disbelief. "There has to be an explanation," she muttered, almost pleading. "He wouldn't." That's when her phone rang. Logan's face lit up on the screen. She answered without thinking, the urgency in his voice cutting through the silence. "Babe, don't go home," he said, his tone desperate. "They're here." The other families, all of them, stood in my house, alongside the police, their eyes filled with disbelief. Olivia looked at me. Really looked at me. It was as if she was seeing me for the first time in years, like the veil had lifted, and the truth was finally making its way to the surface. But instead of confronting me, she simply stood up, turned, and walked out. No words. No explanation. Just the hollow sound of her footsteps echoing in the silence between us. My phone buzzed again, pulling me out of my thoughts. An unknown number. The last text from Logan blinked on the screen: "I can explain everything. Just give me one chance, please. They're going to take everything." I let it ring. I didn't answer. Because sometimes, letting the silence speak is the most powerful response. Reddit update: it's done. All of it. And truth? Truth really is stranger than fiction. Remember that unknown number calling me? It wasn't Logan. It was another victim's son. Let's call him James. What I learned shattered everything I thought I knew. Logan had swindled his elderly parents, taking their entire $270,000 retirement savings, draining their nest egg into a foolproof investment scheme that existed only in his lies. But James wasn't the only one. He did some digging of his own and uncovered the same pattern: 5 other families, 5 more sets of broken promises. Logan had swindled over $1.3 million from relatives and friends alike. But here's the real shock: Logan wasn't losing this money in failed investments. No. He had been living a double life. A hidden life. Another house. Another family. 2 children. And for years, no one knew, not Olivia, not anyone. He had been funding this second life with the stolen money from our families. A life built entirely on deceit. When I received this information, the floodgates opened. I made sure every single piece of evidence reached the authorities. Every forged signature, every fake business proposal, every conversation recorded in the shadows. The truth, the ugly truth, came crashing down on Tuesday morning, tearing apart everything Logan had so carefully constructed. By Tuesday afternoon, Logan's entire house of cards collapsed, and both of his lives came crashing down in a spectacularly synchronized collapse. His other wife showed up at his and Olivia's house. This was how my mom found out. Not from him. Not from me. The other woman stood on their front lawn, screaming about stolen college funds and drained bank accounts. The air was thick with the weight of that revelation. My mom, Helen, called a family meeting to try and fix things, but it was already too late. Everyone showed up, victims, their families, both wives, and even Logan's former business associates. Logan arrived, still smug and confident, convinced he could talk his way out of everything. I had enough. I connected my laptop to the TV and hit play. The Holiday Estate CCTV footage filled the screen, showing Logan leading investors around, claiming the property as his. Then came the footage of him slipping cash into his pockets, pure greed. But the final blow hit when I played the clip where he admitted to another victim that this was all part of a long con. By Friday, 7 families pressed charges. The financial institution launched a fraud investigation, and Logan's real estate license was suspended. Both houses were seized, and both wives filed for divorce. Then came a text from Olivia. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But I should have seen it. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice trembling. Too little, too late. Those words lingered in the air, cutting deep. My mom had lost the house I grew up in, the one she loved, thanks to the fraudulent second mortgage Logan had tricked her into signing. She was moving in with my aunt next week. I should have listened to you, she said as I helped her pack, her hands shaking with regret. I wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't. I had spent years defending Logan, blind to the damage he was causing. But now the truth was clear, he wasn't just a man with flaws. He was a predator, using our love against us. The realization hit me hard, but it was too late. The final blow came when I discovered the boxes Logan had taken from the summer retreat. Inside, more fake documents, forged signatures, and a fresh batch of scams. He didn't just ruin us, he was preparing to do the same to others. I made sure every investigator received the evidence. This time, Logan wouldn't escape. Yesterday, Logan was arrested, not for the family scams, which are still under investigation, but for attempting to flee the country with stolen funds. He was caught at the airport, trying to board a flight with $50,000 in cash and a one-way ticket to a non-extradition country. His empire of lies had crumbled. Chloe and I are getting married next spring at my summer retreat, the same one Logan used to scam people. It feels fitting, like reclaiming what was stolen, standing tall after being used for so long. Olivia and my mom won't be invited. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. Logan faces up to 15 years in prison. Both his wives are testifying against him. Every family he scammed is filing civil suits, his assets are frozen, and his reputation is destroyed. As for me, I'm done being anyone's ATM. The bank is permanently closed. I'm not the same person I was. I've learned that sometimes, you have to walk away from the people meant to be family. I'm free now, free to build a life with Chloe. After everything, I've cut ties with Logan and Olivia. The scars remain, but I'm rebuilding. If you were in my shoes, would you try to salvage the relationship with your family or walk away for good?